You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. It's Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty coming out of Labor Day weekend in the CFL. First, I just want to say quickly, man, I acknowledge how lucky I am and we are to go to football games, but Saturday and even Monday, terrifying day in the province of Saskatchewan, lives lost and lives altered, family dynamics changed forever. So, yeah, our sincerest condolences to those affected, and I realize the privilege that we get to go to football games and talk football. But man, sometimes life and the world can be a terrible place, Ty.
Yeah. I don't know if I have much to add to that. We usually like to start the show off,
funny, but it's pretty
funny, cold open stuff like
heavy.
that. But it's you can't do that with this.
Yeah, it's heavy. This episode of Two and Out brought to you by the Edmonton Community Foundation. And the foundation acts as a bridge between donors and charities to create a strong, vibrant community for generations to come. You can start an endowment fund yourself or with a group, and once it reaches $10,000, it can start distributing funds. Vital Signs, it's an annual checkup conducted by the Edmonton Community Foundation in partnership with the Edmonton Social Planning Council to measure how the community is doing. And this year's focus is on making ends meet in Edmonton. Learn more at ecfoundation.org. Okay, Ty, normally we go into an episode with a lot of preparation. Today
Oh boy,
is not one of those days. And to pull the curtain back, the playoffs.
Yeah, joke's on you guys. We actually prepared for this, and it's still this bad.
The playoffs are usually when we don't prepare anything. The games end and we hit record.
Grey Cup is usually a disaster of a recording.
Yeah, Ty usually rants and destroys the person that sits behind him at the game. That person has
that ruins pay-per-views for us. Am I wrong?
No.
That was like the first quarter in Calgary, and we're like, "Well, this sucks."
Yeah, there was a wrestling pay-per-view that weekend.
It was AEW, wasn't it?
And I think it was NXT
or NXT,
something maybe, like that. And the guy behind us is talking spoilers. Give me a break.
And we both turned around and we were like,
dude, the last place you thought you would have been spoiled on something.
I mean, it might be the first place, really.
Yeah.
We were in Calgary.
Yeah. Now I was in Calgary.
The birthplace of Canadian wrestling.
Yeah, good point. I thought it was going to be an insult, but well done.
No, I'll save my insults for the third game of the week.
I was also in Regina. So look, if I wanted to hit record, there was no time on that. We'll start with Friday night. Ottawa, Montreal. Ottawa wins 38-24. Ottawa's on a 2-game win streak, both on the road. What is happening? What is happening? The RedBlacks are an entirely new team.
Is Nick Arbuckle the greatest player in RedBlacks history? Is he turning that franchise around?
Okay, he went 20 of 31, 313 yards, 1 touchdown. Yeah, that includes a 64-yard pass to Jalen Acklin. I mean, the RedBlacks are a completely different team. For that, on that note, maybe Montreal is a completely different team as well. But they were running the ball, Montreal, I would say. The one drive, they had 55 yards rushing on the drive alone. Walter Fletcher, 6.9 yards a carry.
Nice.
On 9 carries.
Sorry, not.
Jeshrin Antwi, 5 carries for 56 yards, but it wasn't enough. There wasn't enough consistency with the offense. There was a fumble, actually 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and those turnovers, look, Ottawa took advantage, and Ottawa's D-line was all over Trevor Harris.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Harris was 22 of 29 with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. I mean, you look at that, and you see that completion percentage.
Yeah.
You see the 2 touchdowns, and it doesn't seem that bad, but those 2 picks, Ottawa capitalized on. This team is, I'm not going to say they've turned the corner by any means, but this is one of the better games, if not the best game they've played this year.
Yeah.
They disrupted the offense from Montreal. They capitalized on their chances. And yeah, sure, they still haven't won at home, but they are 2 points back, a game back of Montreal for second place right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're somehow still around.
Yeah. Lorenzo Malden, he had 2 sacks. Kenny Onyeka, he also had a sack. Bryce Carter had a sack. I mean, that D line, when they're doing things, they're doing it really well. And hey, Lorenzo Malden also made it on the stat sheet with a knockdown. So that guy's having a come out party. Sean Burke, I think, bringing him over from Hamilton to Ottawa, and that has been one of the biggest moves for the RedBlacks. Is Paul LaPolice going to be able to save his skin? I mean, their big games coming up.
They could host the East Semi. Like,
Which
can you fire him
wild.
After that? Like
I don't know.
They're going to go 5-13 and host the East Semi. And they might win it.
Wow. They've got 2 games coming up here against Toronto. So if they win them both,
they got to split.
That's probably the most likely scenario, because you can't. I think Toronto is really starting to come together a little bit here, but I mean, right now over me, and then I
was thinking it too, but you sound like you had a thought, so I was gonna let it roll.
I mean, if Ottawa somehow wins both of those games, whoa, baby,
they might host the East final.
Yeah. So and that's the question, like, what's happening with the Alouettes now, because they're coming off wins against Hamilton, against Winnipeg.
And it's not like they can go back to Vernon Adams Jr.
Yeah, good point.
They put all their eggs in one basket. They do not have a very diverse portfolio now.
And that win over Winnipeg, I thought they'd be able to harness that momentum going into this game, and Ottawa really just stomped them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Nick Arbuckle, 20 of 31 for 313 yards, which is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Throws a touchdown, doesn't turn the ball over, 64.5% percentage. Like, you're like, okay, it's just one of those games where, they were throwing the ball in garbage time. That's kind of what it feels like. Like, you look at that stat line, you don't think that they would have had a lead at any point. But, I mean, puts up big numbers. Caleb Evans still comes in and contributes six carries for 25 yards and a touchdown. Like, this team is starting to gel on the road anyway.
Yeah.
At home, I mean, I don't know what's going on. It's whatever it is. They still have won football games, and they're still in this, and they are getting better.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, credit to Ottawa's offensive line as well. They do have a veteran group, and Montreal had no sacks.
Yep.
None. And Ottawa's actually able to move the ball on the ground, which has been a bit of a struggle for them this year. And you maybe would like to see the average a bit better, but it was pretty consistent. Devontae Williams, 4.8 yards a carry, 15 carries, 72 yards. He was just getting nice chunks, play after play. And I'm just trying to figure out, Montreal was hitting Kolaris and creating havoc in the backfield in those 2 games against Winnipeg. And then the defensive line really didn't do much against Hamilton, and they didn't do anything against Ottawa. What were the matchups between Montreal and Winnipeg?
The one-offs, like the exception to the rule. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense where they can be that dominating, and then the next 2 weeks, it's who is this team?
They really needed that. They totally needed that from their defensive line. And as far as Ottawa goes, now Arbuckle looks like it's going to be a really dynamic connection between he and Darvin Adams, between he and Jalen Acklin, leading the CFL in receiving yards, 7 catches, 159 yards. The old 2-and-out bump is paying off for Jalen.
Yeah, I mean, can't fault us for anything that he's done this year. He's been nothing. He's done nothing but produce. So we won't take fault if he does anything wrong. But
yeah, that's not us.
When he has 1,000-yard receiving season, somehow by the end of the year, it's all our.
Yeah, we'll take all the credit, none of the blame.
Yeah, that's marriage, isn't it?
I guess.
For some, maybe not you. Take all of the blame and none of the credit.
Yeah, that's me. All of the blame, no matter what.
I know.
That's why I'm getting the back surgery. My the burden that I carry.
Oh no. Oh boy. My mom is gonna listen to that and message your wife on Facebook 100%.
Gino Lewis, 6 catches, 63 yards and a touchdown for the Owls, and it was good to see touchdown Jake back where he belongs in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, kind of Dalton Schoen has taken over that job of scoring touchdowns kind of at will, it seems. Not only Jake Winnipeg, but Tyson Philpott had a big game too. 4 for 71, led the way for the Alouettes. But yeah, Jake Winnipeg, I mean, it's week 13. It's about damn time.
Yep, it's about time. Is there a song lyric that I'm supposed to be catching on to?
If you were on TikTok, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not on TikTok.
That Lizzo song.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to leave it up to you to work in the pop culture references, and they'll continue to fly over my freshly cut hair. Is it no coincidence that as soon as Devontae Dedmon comes back to the CFL that the RedBlacks are 2-0? He hasn't been able to have a dynamic return because teams won't allow it.
Yeah, that is very true. But I mean, they got him 2 receptions, 2 targets here. They're letting him touch the ball. He had the 1 rush for 2 yards. But I think they're going to keep working him in and give this offense another option. And if teams aren't going to kick to him, then why wouldn't you put him? Have him back there. Teams don't want to kick to him, fine, but he's got to be back there for that to happen. And then put him into the offense, get him some touches, give him that chance, and maybe he takes, some matchups away from Acklin and Darvin Adams and opens things up for those guys. And this offense just kind of keeps clicking. I don't think it's a coincidence at all.
All of a sudden, it is look out for the RedBlacks, but I don't think we can all doom and gloom Montreal yet. It was 1 game. I mean, credit to Ottawa.
Mike Sherman's not coaching this team. It's not over. Credit
to Ottawa for coming out and playing their best. They had the ball for over 33 minutes. And I mean, hey, we'll let Dunnigan and Stiegel argue over whether ownership situations affect a team's on-field performance.
Mm-hmm. Hey, if your paychecks are clearing, you shouldn't care about who's signing them.
Yeah. Maybe Milt and Matt are out for beers right now, but I somehow doubt it.
I highly doubt it.
After Labor Day, they were, I think, sick of seeing
Milt's
each other.
not.
That's true. Too many carbs in beer.
Yeah, way too many carbs. You got to drink Michelob's. And I bet you he doesn't even drink.
Probably not. He's a
nerd. You're up, nerd.
Okay. The day before Labor Day Classic, is that acceptable?
Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Whatever. They want to call it the Labor Day Classic. They can be wrong if they want.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers beating the Saskatchewan Roughriders 20-18. This
I had Bombers -3.5 and the under. The punt single and the single in the kickoff shoved it right up my hoop.
Whoa. Sold
That's
out.
why I hate betting spreads.
In Regina. Now, I don't know what it was. I truly think that was the loudest I've ever heard Mosaic Stadium before kickoff.
It was definitely the loudest we've heard it this year, I think.
Yeah.
If not all time, it definitely was this year. That's the loudest I've heard it on TV.
Taylor, my wife, texts me in I think the fourth quarter. You people are loud.
Oh, what do you mean, you people?
And then when Winnipeg comes out of the tunnel, it was Roman Reigns level booing from the crowd, and maybe some Blue fans yelling blue. I'm not sure. But then you can't even hear the musical montage as the Riders are getting set to come out. Like Rider Nation, and hey, credit to all of the Bomber fans that made that trip from Winnipeg. It made for an incredible atmosphere Sunday in Regina. I cannot wait.
I'm sure Saturday night was a good time too.
Yeah, I bet it was. I cannot wait to see the ratings for this one. Like the fact that there were 4 points scored in the fourth quarter, and yet this game had so much drama. It felt like a playoff game. It was a game that the Riders needed to win, and they just didn't get. And this is the difference between a champion, and I heard Craig Dickinson say it, the difference between a championship team and a team that's trying to get there. The Bombers were down 14-0, and you never got a sense of panic at all.
I was never worried about my bet. Like if I was, well, the only reason I got worried is that punt single. I'm like, it's 14. Like it's what? Like there's no way Winnipeg's going down 21.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen. And they just started making plays. Like it just, yeah. That crowd was something else on Sunday. And yeah, when the Riders elected to receive, I'm like, you're losing this football game.
But what a first drive!
Yeah. I'm like, you won the toss. Defer. They end up with the ball, and it works out. They did a great first drive, and I don't know, the second half. I mean, they only allowed 4 points, so I mean, you can't really fault the defense at all in that second half. But Jason Moss leaving a little bit to be desired. If you're a Rider fan right now,
man, you're putting that lightly. The game.
Hey, I've been driving this bandwagon for like. How many? Like for 2
Yeah,
at least
like, I hate to say I told it so, but I told it so.
In a Toadaso. And now all you people are jumping on it and you're changing the music.
What do you mean, you people?
You know what I mean, you people. And change the music and mess with the AC. They're rolling down windows and throwing bottles at signs. We're going to get pulled over. Everybody's going to get kicked out, and Moss is going to keep his job is what's going to happen. So it was just me. It was fine.
This is a funny note about the game. I'm going to cross the street to go across the tracks to go to the stadium. I'm standing there with Mike O'Shea.
Oh.
And the train is parked on the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's me,
derailed,
2 Bomber fans, and Mike O'Shea.
Was it Neely and Mike?
No. People I didn't know.
2 different Bomber fans.
Yeah. So then the police officer gets on the intercom thing and, attention Bomber and Rider fans. Like, there's been a train derailment. So you need to walk north to Albert. I'm like, give me a break. So I go to Mike O'Shea. That's home field advantage, baby.
Yeah.
He's going to walk north to Albert and then back to the stadium.
Right through the heart of it.
I don't know if he was going for a run or what, but
yeah,
we're
probably going to get a blizzard, pregame blizzard.
I thought he would get front door service, but I guess not. The drive,
I would have been getting an Uber so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
I would not have been walking.
The drive chart for the Riders started with touchdown, field goal, and that's a lot.
That's about it.
better than you would have expected from the Rider offense, or at least a lot of people in Saskatchewan expected of their own team.
That opening drive was the only drive they got in the red zone.
Yeah. I mean, look, credit to the Winnipeg defense as always. Never panicking. I mean, Saskatchewan made plays too. Shaq Evans had a 30-yard reception. Mitchell Picton had a 47-yard reception. But before we get to the second half, in the first half, it really started falling apart, I found, for Saskatchewan when so Braden Linnaeus is making his season debut after coming back up from the NFL, and he looked kind of lost in some places. He took an offside. He took a holding penalty, but on one drive, the Riders had a time count violation
At home.
And they had two of them in the first half. 2 time counts at home? Look, I know the Bomber fans were loud, but
they weren't that loud.
Come on.
I don't know. It just seemed a little bit of, I don't want to call it stage fright. I don't know, a little bit of unpreparedness maybe, and just things not quite there, like just out of sorts. Like you're getting a lot of bodies in, and with Duke out, Shaq coming back, Linnaeus back in the lineup. Like it's a lot of guys that aren't used to being in those positions. Like, well, they are, but they're not. Like they're just out of sync with how everything runs, coming on and off the sidelines and stuff like that. So I think that probably attributes to it a little bit. But when you're at home, those seem unexcusable.
Yeah. So they had the time
and then
count.
the procedure called the no end.
Yeah.
Like
on a big play.
Well, and then Glenn Steers like, well, that receiver's got to get up to the line. I'm like, no. He's got to be stationary on the line. He doesn't just have to be at the line when the ball's snapped. He's got to be stationary to close that end. Can't be moving around.
So in the one sequence, they're deep in their own end. They take the offside. They take the time count, and then they punt and take a no yards. And Winnipeg getting beautiful field position. And this is what Zach Collaros has done since going to Winnipeg.
Well, the time count and offside were back-to-back plays.
Yeah.
Like,
just when you think you've had him sacked, just when you think the play is a mess, somehow 83, 82, they're finding places in the secondary, and Collaros is finding them. And especially that touchdown to Schoen.
Dalton Schoen, yep. His 9th touchdown of the year, probably 8 of them have been scramble drill.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. I think there's only been one where Collaros has been in the pocket.
A beautiful, incredible play that...
And he threw him open.
Yep.
Like, it was unreal.
It was magic. I mean, when you look in the first half, in the second quarter, the Riders had the ball for 8.5 minutes. In the first quarter, they had it for over 10 minutes. So they had the opportunities, but they didn't end in sixes as much as Winnipeg's opportunities did. And we get to the second half, and really hits the fan.
They had the ball for 10 minutes and 20 seconds in the first quarter and scored 11 points.
So, I mean, that's about as good as you can expect to start against the Bombers. Yeah. So, I mean, they had a great start to the game. The mosaic was rocking.
And then in second quarter, Bombers had the ball for 6 minutes and 31 seconds. How many points did they score?
Yeah. Most of their points. 17. Yeah. So they made their opportunities count. And
was it windy?
It was a little bit.
But nothing that would be like a huge advantage.
No.
Yeah.
It was windier in Calgary at times. There was some of a breeze in Regina, and maybe that contributed to trying to do the Lothar 57-yarder. And I mean, Mike O'Shea continues to talk about how he believes in his kicker, Mark Leggio. And a couple games ago, the 2 short kicks against Montreal missed, and this game, I mean, I credit to O'Shea. I mean, I think the belief that he has shown to his kicker in the media and everywhere else, and then showing belief by putting him out there to kick a 55-yarder. massive kick from Legio, and that won the game. So congratulations to Legio for making that kick. But the Riders, so many opportunities, and the big ones, I thought the back-to-back penalties in the first half, and I think it was Kyron Moore that made the catch. He's tackled out of bounds. It would have been about 2nd and 2, and that was the Riders' offense. Nothing going on in the third. Nothing.
Yeah.
2nd and 2, that's about as good as you can ask for. Duke Williams says something egregious. Oh, he's in civvies, by the way. And the flag goes up. Misconduct penalty to the Rough Rider bench. 2nd and 12, derails the drive. It's Winnipeg ball.
Yeah, just the timing on it, not great. But like in the situation that it was, or that would put the Riders in, with him being in civvies, like you said, like that just makes it even worse, I think. And I mean, baseball, you see it, guys on the DL, or I guess it's the IL now, on the bench, don't usually get into too much. Like, if they get kicked out, who cares? But it's not like it's not like, okay, well, your next batter starts with a strike.
Yeah.
Right? So it's whatever. You get kicked out, you might have to pay a fine. Basketball, it happens. The guys are on the bench, whatever. Football, it just seems, football, with how physical it is and how big those rosters are, how big they are on the sidelines, when stuff goes down, those guys can be in the middle of it. And they're not like hockey, you're in the press box. So, like, Dickinson coming out and saying, like, you know, if guys aren't playing, they're not going to be there.
He said he's ruined it for everyone, but
he's ruined it for everybody.
Hindsight.
Hindsight's 20/20. But now it just looks like you're just blaming Duke for anything that happens on that sideline. You know what I mean? Like,
but you're getting paid $250,000, and
you got to be smarter. But if it's something he said, like, how about a warning? Unless he was doing it all day.
And that's the thing.
Or depending on what he said, maybe it did warrant.
That's the thing. We don't know what he said.
He's got to be way smarter for sure.
But the flag came out fast. I mean, that's
yeah, but he's got to be way smarter. I think I think we can both agree on that.
And I think it's piling on because of what happened in Wolfville, the helmet throwing, getting suspended,
the spitting allegedly, all that stuff.
This stuff piles up, and when you cost your team, I can't say that he cost the game.
No.
But when you cost the team
at least that series, the Riders the game.
When you cost the team at least that series, that is a massive, massive mistake. And then in the fourth quarter, I mean, and it was also a big mistake, I thought. Obviously, Saskatchewan takes the single to go up 18-17. Well, Winnipeg ball at the 40.
Yeah. Like I thought they got rid of John Ryan. and then today I get a score update. John Ryan punting single. I'm like, oh, weird.
So, hey, Collaros, Winnipeg does what they need to do, get down the field and, hey, kick a massive field goal to go up. Well, Riders, Cody Fajardo, I mean, all of the criticism this season, all of it, and has been on him, and he's played well. And 23 of 32, 292 yards, 1 interception in this game. I thought he played great. And that last drive, they made plays. They got down the field. They got into field goal range. It's in Lother range.
Well within Lother range, and you're down 2.
And it's about 2:18 to go. And I realize that if you kick a field goal with, say, a minute 30 to go, Collaros is going to have time to engineer a drive to get Winnipeg into scoring range. But
the way your defense has been playing, they've allowed 4 points in the half.
You got to trust your defense. Well, I think everybody trusts the Rider defense more than they trust the Rider offense to win games.
Yes, 100% right now. I think that is a fair assessment.
So when
and I think and I don't know if it's because they don't trust Cody and the offense, or if they don't trust who's responsible for calling the offense.
When I
Or if it's
see,
both.
I'm thinking run the ball.
Mhm,
We haven't
100%.
even said Frankie Hickson's name. 15 carries, 85 yards, 5.7 yards a carry.
Mhm.
Play the averages.
And you can put the ball in the middle of the field or on whatever hash mark Brett Lowther prefers.
If he gets 5.7 yards on 2 carries, you got a first down, more clock. More clock being eaten up. But it felt like, to me, that they were so scared that
panicked.
if they didn't get a touchdown, that Winnipeg was going to win with a field goal. And they forced it. And look, Cody forced the throw. He needs to have situational awareness and eat that ball. But that should have never been a passing play. We've seen all game long, the Riders had the most success when the fullbacks were out there. Alberta Watchie, James Tuck had great games, and they're not going to get all of the credit.
And
out
they
there.
are not on the stat sheet other than on the roster.
Right. And when they're off the field, sacks, more
Sacks,
pressure
the run
on Cody.
game struggles.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were not on there on that interception play.
Well, and with that, they're not on there. You know they're not running the ball. So why would Winnipeg send pressure?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to telegraph stuff like that. It's just frustrating.
We didn't even mention the offensive pass interference that Craig Dickinson ended up challenging.
And the Dickinson's challenge, some stupid.
And that lost timeout came to bite him at the end. They could have had the ball with 30 seconds to go, which you can make things happen in 30 seconds. Yeah. You can't do much in 8. So
no. Well, I can.
So the Jason Moss call, that I don't get it. And I'm sitting here just over 24 hours later, and I still don't understand it. I mean, Winnipeg made their plays. Zach Collaros, 15 of 24, 214, and 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. That's the big number. The touchdowns there. Brady Oliveira was limited. He had 3.2 yards a carry. I mean, Dembski had a beautiful game, 5 catches for 79 yards, and he almost had a bigger play that was broken up. But that's a championship team. No panic and not taking the idiotic penalties.
The Riders had 99 yards in penalties in this game. The Bombers had 40. There's step 1. Yeah. Step 2, the Bombers didn't panic at all. They've
been there before. Early. Look at the Grey Cup.
Nothing new. This is nothing new to them.
Yep.
They just kind of plotted away. The offense they know what their offense is. They know its weaknesses. They know its strengths, and they played to it and trusted that the defense would make the adjustments they needed to make, which they did, because Richie Hall's damn good at his job. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. And they just, second half, they shut him out. And when it looked like the Riders were going to run away with this game early on in that first quarter.
Early, yeah.
Right? And that's just a mark of a championship team, like you said. And can they three-peat? Absolutely they can. They're probably going to win the West.
11-1.
Like, it's nuts.
Look, it doesn't matter how you win, man. Bottom line, they have 11 wins. They have
if
11
they're winning
wins.
ugly games now, how do you think it's going to go in November when the other teams are afraid to run the ball? Because they haven't done it all year. They're all ugly games. You don't get a 52-50 game in the middle of November in Winnipeg in minus 30.
No, exactly.
Like, yeah.
Congrats.
It's frustrating because other teams haven't figured this out.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hamilton, still trying to go high flying, throw the ball 50 times a game. It's not going to work.
Mm-mm.
It hasn't worked for 3 years.
No.
Nothing changes. Right? Like, You'd say sports are copycat, like every league's a copycat league. Nobody's been able to copy Winnipeg yet.
No.
And I think by the time they do, somebody else is going to figure out a way to stop it, and it'll be too late anyway.
Congrats to Winnipeg. Congrats to their fans. Look, I try to be as unbiased as I can, but man, when you drive 8.5 hours, and I expected
You did not expect the Riders to win that game.
I picked them to win.
You fool.
But I don't know. That I guess I don't feel like a fool. They lost by 2 points and they should have won.
They covered.
Yeah, they covered. It's the way, but that's the close games. That's Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
That game. I don't know.
There was no blowout games this week.
No.
Wow.
It was close going into the fourth. We'll get into that. Man, that game meant the world to me. And seeing my friends from Winnipeg, hey, they were great fans that I saw. Mm-hmm. They're having fun and
you know what the only time, or I shouldn't say the only time. When I talk about people from Winnipeg and when I disparage them, just remember that one of you made me walk around downtown Regina with the promise of nuggets from Burger King.
And Ty will walk 500 miles if there was.
And I will walk 500 more.
For chicken nuggets.
And it was closed. You lied to me, Neil. You let me down like my real dad. And I will never forgive you, and I will never forget. So now all of Winnipeg has to pay for that.
Wow. Congrats to Winnipeg.
Except for Neely.
And here's the thing. If Saskatchewan was going to win one of the three,
it had
this
to be
was
that
the
one. Yeah, because they're getting throttled next week.
You're not going to go into IG Field and make those same dumb mistakes.
No, you're not.
They've been making these dumb mistakes all year, though. You're
not getting off an 8-hour bus trip ready to play a football game.
Oh, I can't wait to the rematch there. Hamilton, Toronto, where the Argos end up going to Hamilton, winning for the first time on Labor Day in a decade, 28-8. The Argos win, but we'll say that 17 points came in the fourth quarter from Toronto. I just want to read Hamilton's drive chart to you.
I haven't looked at it yet. I'm going to read it along.
Punt, 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 punt. Interception.
I'm sorry, what'd you call me?
Punt, 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 punt. Turnover on downs. Punt, interception, turnover on downs. Game over.
Every drive ended in them giving the ball away.
Every single one.
Yeah, except for the end of the game.
That is insane. But look, Dane Evans is hurt. Matt Schultz is hurt. I know. Jamie Newman getting his first career start, 14 of 25, 171 yards, and an interception to Jamal Peters, who might be the hottest defensive player in the CFL right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dominated last week at BMO. Impact again, obviously, this week on Labor Day. And we know that Brandon Banks has had an impact on Labor Day at Tim Hortons Field before. He had another impact at Tim Hortons Field again.
It's just such a shame sometimes. But sometimes it just makes my heart so happy with what happens at Tim Hortons Field sometimes.
You can't. I remember we've gone through phases on this podcast where the Ty's public enemy number one is Ottawa, and then
when was it Ottawa?
Well,
the first year.
When you got waxed.
How soon we forget.
Montreal. I mean, we actually had an episode called Montreal Swear Jar. Because we trashed them so much, or you did.
That was the Mike Sherman, Johnny Manziel debacle.
I think the Elks were your enemy, but
That was because they just did nothing right.
seems like Hamilton's currently your enemy right now.
I wouldn't say the whole city. Just like I like to watch suffering.
Okay, but serious conversation, man.
Mm-hmm.
Back-to-back Grey Cup appearances, and now
Yes. I'm going to answer your question right now. It's a yes.
do they got to blow this thing up?
I think so. Like,
Man, I see the talent
Travis,
on the defense.
Don Jackson got the ball 3 times on
Yeah.
the ground.
Yeah.
Sean Thomas only got the ball 3 times on the ground. He had 39 yards.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
When it's basically a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter, and your quarterback getting his first ever start, no, that's
I harp on the Jason Moss thing in Saskatchewan. And I've done it for 2 years. I think he's terrible. If Hamilton's not saying the same thing about Tommy Condell, I don't know what the hell they're watching.
that.
Am I wrong? Because this is stupid. This makes zero sense to me. You got a rookie quarterback, and we talk about it all the time. When Nathan Rourke started last year and even this year, like James Butler's going to have to be leaned on. He's going to have to get some carries. Taylor Cornelius, last year, get James Wilder involved. Get those guys, get the running backs the ball. Kind of try to establish a run game, or at least give them the defense thinks that, it's a possibility. You hand the ball off 6 times to your 2 running backs. Other than that, Pappy White gets a carry. Tim White got a carry. And then your other 8 are from your quarterbacks. I don't know what you got to do to blow it up, because they chose Dane over Mazzoli. Okay, that's fine. Dane hasn't been Dane, or the Dane that we've seen. And I don't know if it's because the film's out. There's no chance that, they can't go back and forth between him and Mazzoli. He's not coming in, and with a little bit of a different package and teams are ready for. Everybody knows what it is. And what it is hasn't changed, but he's just not as mobile as Mazzoli was when he was there. But the receiving core they have, Lamar Durant, Poppy White, Stephen Dunbar, Tim White, David Unger gets a target. They're not using him. DeAndre Smith got 2 targets. The receivers are there. I think there is potential there, but it's real hard when you don't have the offense that allows them to get the ball, because teams just know you're going to pass.
Yeah.
So why would you send 6 and drop back in man coverage when you can send 3, drop 8 guys back?
I do think that the defensive line in Hamilton, they've been so good at stopping the run, but the pass rush really hasn't been there this year as much as Hamilton would have liked. But they've got talent on defense, and I don't know what you do to blow it up. But hey, I know how much the Labor Day game in Regina meant to me. Mm-hmm. I know how it means to people in Hamilton.
If you're gonna blow it up, a Delicate's got to go. Are you keeping Dylan Wynn?
There's big salary guys on the D line. I mean,
right?
But
Simone, you probably got to let Simone. You probably got to trade Simone or cut him.
And I mean,
there's so much you got to do. Are they prepared to do that? Because those are names that have entrenched themselves in that community.
Yeah.
And you might see a bit of a revolt, but I think the Hamilton fans are smart enough to know what they're doing if it goes that way. And because I don't know if it's got to be an Edmonton teardown like we've seen.
That's what I mean.
That's a big ask.
The Hamilton front office is pretty stacked too. I mean, Ed Hervey's in there, Kari Jones is in there, Orlando Steinauer's in there. It's pretty stacked.
Yep.
So
I think it would be a 1-year deal, or maybe they go 5-13, get the people in place. And the next year they come out and they have it figured out. I don't think we see what we see in Edmonton. Not saying Edmonton, but I mean Edmonton they overhauled their front office, new president, whatever, all that stuff. I think that adds to it. But if they're going to do it in Hamilton, they got to figure out if they're doing it first, and they got to make that decision sooner rather than later. because if you just stand pat with this and come back next year and the same thing happens, then you've wasted a year.
Toronto, well, Hamilton's score came on a pick six off of McLeod Bethel Thompson, who went 22 of 34. He had 2 picks. He had 2 touchdowns, 298 yards. I mean, Brandon Banks has a touchdown catch, a beautiful one. Mm-hmm. The run in for the touchdown where he fakes the throw with the left hand and then runs in. Toronto, they're on top of the East Division, and look, I know they were against Jamie Newman, but that Toronto defense has some real players on it. We already mentioned Jamal Peters, but that defense is really coming together.
They had the player of the month in October on that defense.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they're is this game going to be something that you would, you talk about college football. This isn't a ranked opponent. Right. That you're beating up on, right? It's Hamilton. So you kind of file that away a little bit, but I mean they still only allowed 8 points. And only one, and none of them on offense. If you think about it, and they allowed a pick six.
Yeah.
Like the defense played lights out on, well, I guess we can say today, it's Monday. Like defense played absolute lights out. And they've been playing very well this last month. Like we're getting to that time of year now where defense has to show up. Because if they don't, it gets harder and harder to score. Because everybody's defense seems to get a little. I don't know if the defense gets better or if the offense gets a little worse as the weather turns. It might be six of one, half a dozen the other. But if the defense keeps playing like this, there's no reason that they're not hosting that East final. It's pretty much locked up now. I mean, they are 3 or 4 games clear, but they're still, they still have to clinch. But if the defense keeps playing like this, you have nothing to worry about.
Enoch Mwamba had 8 tackles and 1 sack. Shane Ray had 2 tackles, and he also had the 1 sack. But Sean Oakman's on that defensive line. I mean, they only had the 2 sacks, but
now they don't track pressures anymore.
Yeah, again, it's Jamie Newman, and no disrespect. No disrespect to him. But we've seen years before where Toronto will go into Hamilton on Labor Day where Hamilton is struggling and Toronto is heavily favored and they get crushed. Mm-hmm. So Toronto went in and did their job and they won 3 out of 4 from the Ticats. And the big thing was these teams going to meet again in the playoffs. And right now it doesn't seem like Toronto has to worry about that. One little bit.
No, they got to be worrying about who's going to beat Ottawa in the East Semi.
Well, Toronto's going to play Ottawa the next 2 games. Yeah. Those games are now
the game in Ottawa. The game in Ottawa you don't have to worry about. It's the game in Toronto that you got to worry about. If you're the Argos.
Will Ottawa finally win a home game? Probably not. But the Argos, it wasn't, last week, the Ticats had the ball more.
We keep talking about Ottawa and how they might, they win these 2 games, or if they even win one, Montreal is still in second place.
I know.
Oops. But I mean, still, Montreal had a chance to not put their foot on their throat, but be 4 points clear. Have a little bit of wiggle room,
but now Rider fans have to cheer for Toronto.
100%. 100%.
Tiebreaker's not going to help you in the crossover. No. So this is remarkable.
I'm more worried about the Elks catching them than them making the crossover.
Yeah, they got 2 games against. They got 2 games against Winnipeg this month, and they do have 1 against Edmonton, who went into Calgary, obviously, the second half of the Labor Day Classic. And yes, they do lose 26-18. I think the best crowd we've seen in Calgary in a while. Over 30,000 people there. We had 3 great crowds.
That game took 3 hours and 41 minutes.
That's what it says. That has to be wrong. Oh, it says kickoff at 1:38. That's and that kickoff was not at 1:38. It was at 2:38. So the game took 2:41.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
It was not that slow of a game.
That's on me.
But that's what the stat sheet says.
Yeah.
But a great crowd in Calgary and a great atmosphere. We got there early, and BB Can Ryan welcomed us and barbecued us some Smokies and had some beers at the tailgate. And look, they've got the best tailgating in the CFL, and on Labor Day it is special. And look, McMahon Stadium has the best sight lines, I believe, in the CFL. Yep. It's just the amenities and everything surrounding McMahon Stadium. And the post-game show, the big conversation was about the stadium. And I mean, how it's got to hold back a lot of people from going there anymore.
I think so. Like where we sat for Grey Cup, we were lucky. There was a bathroom right there. You know, there was food and beer right there if you wanted it. Like, but for Grey Cup, not a lot of people are getting up and down, right? Like, it's cold. You don't really want to get out of your seat. Rather just kind of hunker down. Middle of July, August. Well, yeah, you're going to be up and down and grabbing beers. It's going to be way busier with a little bit less people because everybody's in the concourse or needing access. You know, you're drinking, then you need the bathroom, and then you come back, get another drink, get a hot dog, and go back up to the bathroom, and you might as well grab another beer. Yeah, like the concourse, not big. The amenities aren't quite there. It's serviceable for now, but there has to be something coming because I don't know how much longer they can do this.
Well, and that's the problem. 5 to 10 years, what are we doing? Like, where are we playing in Calgary?
Yeah.
We're going to be playing in McMahon?
They're not going to have a choice.
Because right now it seems like there's zero rumblings of that changing anytime soon.
You think the Flames still want to be in the Saddle Dome?
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't get anybody to sign there. Have you seen their dressing room?
That's quite the crazy thing that Calgary has the oldest rink.
Stadiums.
And stadium. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite wild. I mean, it's pretty tough. When I believe, like, when you go to McMahon Stadium and you want a 55-yard line seat, you're paying over $100, and then you're paying $11 for beer and $5 for water at McMahon Stadium.
What is this, Woodstock '99?
That's a pretty tough situation, but credit to the crowd there. I would like, just like we see in Regina, the amount of Bomber fans that made the trip, especially this year, which I think has been the most that we've seen at Mosaic since the new stadium opened. Why don't the Elks throw together buses anymore? Look, and I know that the team is struggling right now.
This year and last year, I think it'd be too hard of a sell.
Maybe that's part of it. And
baby steps.
Maybe the Elks don't want to line Calgary's pocket. I get that.
Get over it.
Hey, it's revenue sharing. Give them more. You help yourself out too. But
they just write it off.
You tell me, like, if the Elks organized it and had the marketing, the social following they had, and sell somebody a spot on the bus, and hey, we'll get you your first beer and dog for $60, they'll fill a bus or two easily.
Yeah, even people that aren't Elks fans.
Make it happen.
Right.
And it creates a bigger atmosphere on Labor Day. And I don't know if the Bombers organize what happens in Winnipeg or if it's just fans doing it.
I think it's a little of both.
Yeah. Get that going. Like, let's get this going. And I think, well, I did. My question was whether the Stamps were going to pop 50 on the Elks or not. And they didn't. At halftime, it's 8-7 Calgary.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, here we go again. Like, are we looking at number 19 standing on the sideline? But Dickinson stayed the course and kept Jake Mayer in there. He had a 69% completion percentage.
Nice.
And in the third quarter, that's when things really changed, and the Stamps scored 15 points. And I really thought they were going to run away with it here. But I can't even talk. I can't figure out Edmonton. They make the most changes this past week than they have all year. They trade their starting center. It looks like they're done and packing it into next year. And on Labor Day in Calgary, Chris Jones has them prepared and competing for
2.5 quarters.
As good as they have all year. Well, and okay, so that blocked punt in the third quarter that the Stamps were able to capitalize on, and I think that ended in a Reggie Begelton touchdown, which was a crazy throw and catch. Edmonton could have folded up like a cheap tent at that moment, but they didn't. They even ended up recovering a botched punt in the second half. And then in the fourth quarter, Taylor Cornelius extending a 3rd and goal play and throwing a touchdown pass and keeping the Elks in it to the very bitter end, which the last play of the game, look, I know throwing a 108-yard touchdown with time expiring is not likely. Well, ask Danny Machocha and Milt Stiegel about that story.
I'm not asking Milt much right now.
That's true. But to throw it out of bounds, ooh.
It's an interesting choice.
Ooh.
I'd rather you throw a pick because at least it was in the field of play.
Maybe there's a penalty. Something happens. Yep. Who knows? But to chuck it out of bounds.
Yep.
Whoa. And I thought Cornelius played, I mean, as good as you can ask of a guy that is playing with a rookie running back that only got 5 carries, by the way, 9 yards a carry.
Yeah.
His best receiver, Kenny Lawler, is not playing. And the Calgary defensive line is all over him. So I thought Cornelius had an all right game at McMahon Stadium. Taylor Cornelius sacked 6 times. So they're all over him. But, I mean, had a lost fumble as well. The blocked punt. There it is. Calgary taking advantage of the Elks.
Cornelius' stat line is good enough to win.
22, 33, 2 touchdowns, 257 yards.
Didn't turn the ball over. Right? Like, it's just, like, you look at Mayer, 238 interception and 2 touchdowns. It's like, they kind of had very similar games.
Yeah.
Almost exactly the same. Running backs about the same. It's just, they're so close to figuring it out, it seems like, in Edmonton.
It does seem like that.
And that's what we said, that in the second half or in the last third of the season is when they're going to start to figure this out. Because Chris Jones will have made the majority of his moves by then. This training camp will kind of be, in the final cut stages, and here we are. They're competitive. And that's literally all they need this year. Maybe they get a couple wins. Maybe they backdoor their way into a crossover. Who knows? But they need to be competitive this year and figure that out. Keep guys that they want to keep and that want to stay. Turn into next year and start the year competitive and not, going 0-7 to start.
I think it starts with a home win. And
that would be nice.
And we've seen this where, I mean, Edmonton went to Ottawa, won, and then came home and laid an egg. They went to Calgary in June this year and gave them all sorts of fits. Mm-hmm. Calgary comes to Edmonton a few weeks later and crushes them. They cannot afford to be crushed in the Labor Day rematch.
No, I think everybody talks about how you just got to play 500 ball on the road and take care of business at home. You can play 500 ball on the road all you want, but if you haven't won a home game in 1,100 days, what does it matter?
Exactly. And we've seen at times this year where the Elks defense gets thrashed on the ground. Kadeem Carey, I mean, he did have a touchdown, but under 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
13 carries for 61 yards. The Stamps offense couldn't really they handled them, but they were having trouble with the Elks up front a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Mayer take a massive hit from Jake Seresna, by the way.
Yeah, which is not somebody that I would want to be running into.
He's been making plays over the last few weeks.
Yeah. I don't know if it's Calgary playing down or if it's because maybe it's not them playing down. Maybe it's with Jake Mayer being in. This is definitely a different.
It is.
Definitely a different team than Bo, and with Bo behind center. So I don't know if they're necessarily playing down. I just don't think they're quite at the elite level that we're used to seeing them at with Jake Mayer there.
Yeah.
They'll get there because we know that Calgary is basically a plug and play. We've seen enough from Jake Mayer now to know that he can put up those numbers.
Yeah.
He's still young, still not a huge sample size. There's going to be some up and downs. I think this is just one of those. They still get the win. It's not a pretty one. Like when you look at it against an Edmonton team that is what the Elks are this year, you don't expect Calgary to only win by 8.
No. So we'll see what happens in this rematch on Saturday. Malik Henry was the leading receiver with 67 yards. He was working on Duron Carter for most of the game, but with Malik Henry, destroying the Elks earlier this season, I mean, that has to be considered a bit of a success for Edmonton.
But all that does is open up Reggie Begelton.
5 catches, 57 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Kamar, he had 4 catches, 31 yards. Luther Hakunavanu had a wild 40-yard reception, and Kadeem Carey had 3 for 27. But the Elks' offense, entirely new look this week. The leading receiver, Dylan Mitchell, 6 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. I think he had a pretty nice game himself. He had 3 punt returns as well. Jalen Marshall, a wild touchdown catch from him, 3 for 33. And the new running back, Kevin Brown, 6 for 51. He added 45 yards on the ground. Maybe they got something in the running game going with Kevin Brown too.
Well, and if he can catch the ball in the backfield, I mean, if you can have a running back that can do both, where you're not, some teams have the running back that only runs and they have the running back that only catches passes out of the backfield. It makes it real easy to play against. If he can do both, it can be kind of that two-headed monster in one guy. That's kind of nice. And 2, they spread the ball around.
Mm-hmm.
They had 7 different receivers. Everybody had multiple targets except Lee Trey. It makes it tough on a defense. They didn't come out with the win, but I mean, we're seeing vast improvements, and they're definitely getting better. It's just they're not winning football games. It is what it is. But yeah, Dylan Mitchell, like you said, newcomer. Jalen Marshall, who was the other one? Oh, I mean, Darrell Walker, 3 of 5 for 48 yards. I mean, what you're paying him, probably not.
It's probably more team friendly than the Argos got a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's very fair. And it's probably more team friendly than Kenny Lawler.
Oh, by a lot, I think.
But like what we've seen him do,
I know. Yeah.
All right. It seems like it. I don't want to say it's over because I don't think it is, but I think his time in Edmonton might be, because I think Chris Jones, they won a Grey Cup together. He was a huge piece when he came in.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if they can keep everybody together, because they're going to have to find a way to add to this team in the offseason guys that Chris Jones wants.
I'm wondering, the way Jones is changing things is Lawler going to? He can't pay him $300,000 again.
No, the only way you can pay Kenny Lawler $300,000 is if you're going to win 14 games.
Is he going to be a trade target? Jones is trading everyone. He's only on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
It's going to be interesting to see. You never know. You
look at a guy like Darrell Walker. Do you re-sign him?
Yeah.
Down year. Not we've seen. They know what he can do. He's had massive seasons, and a massive half a season in 2015. Do you bring him back and try to rekindle that, or do you just let him walk and give that money to That's one of the I'm just using him as an example because there's lots of guys on this team that it's the same question. What are you doing? Because we've seen the changes that Chris Jones has done and has traded, signed, released, and then didn't sign the free agent, then traded for him after he was signed. Like, we talk about this training camp and everything. They are getting better. Who fits into this Chris Jones system to end the year? And if they're here at the end of the year, does that mean he couldn't trade them or he didn't want to? Like, there's so many questions with this team right now still. It's crazy that they're even this competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think honestly, the way that they gave Calgary so much trouble in this game, good for them. Jake Seresna, he did have 2 sacks. Avery Ellis, the newcomer, had 1 sack, but look at Calgary. They had 6 sacks in this one.
Yeah.
Arimalade had 2 of them. Mike Rose had 1 at the end. Jameer Thurman, 10 tackles, 1 sack. Terrell McLean had 1 sack there. So again, it's Calgary making the plays that they need to make, much like Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
And they're close. We saw how close those 2 teams were in their 3 matchups this year.
It's really hard to not think that that's your West final.
Is there still an in-between tier? Like, it's clearly Winnipeg, and then BC, Calgary, Saskatchewan.
I think it's Winnipeg 1, Calgary 2, BC and Saskatchewan, I think, are that other tier, and then you have the Elks. After work goes down, you can't keep BC up there.
Well, now it almost looks like Hamilton's in the bottom.
Yeah. Hamilton's a dumpster fire right now.
Do you have fantasy numbers? I don't even know.
I have nothing.
We do not have fantasy numbers. So we can go through our lineups. That is fine. They were both dumpster fires themselves. We were both in the CFL Podcast Fantasy League. We both came away with losses. You lost to X's and Argos. I lost by like 4 points to Joe Pritchard of US or of Rouge, White, and Blue. I was thinking of his Twitter handle, USFL Tecmo. I look at my receivers and flex. Kamar Jordan, 7.1. Braden Lenius, 5.4.
It's a good thing you don't lose points for penalties, eh?
Yeah. Don Jackson, 0.9.
Hey, he outscored my defense.
So Jake Mayer had 16. My running backs were actually the bright spot. Kadeem Carey, 18.8, and Frankie Hickson, 13.5.
I had Jake as well, but I had Peyton Logan.
Oh, yeah.
2.4.
Yeah. He had a big, at least he had that return. It was over a 40-yard return. 61 return yards, 2 rushes, no yards, no catches. Like, ugh. Don Jackson last week against Toronto had 10 carries, but he also had 6 catches. So that's what I was banking on this week.
I had Malik Henry, 12.7, Kyron Moore, 12.8, Keandre Smith got 2.5, and I had the Als D that got me -4. But hey, I'm like 42nd in pick'em.
Hey, that's going well for you. You went 3-1 this week. I went 2-2.
Yeah, I went 2-2 in gambling though because I took Bombers to cover. Sorry, 43rd overall.
Nice, well done. Just need you to drop 26 spots.
I will do that for them.
And keep that mustache looks infinitely greasier than even last episode. I love it.
Travis.
Well, greasy is a term of endearment. And he's trying to get the handlebars.
They're coming.
Do you think they will connect?
No. Only one way to find out.
Yeah, there's only one way to find out.
Because if they don't, I'm going to give it, I'll give it some time. But if they don't, I'm going Oren Larson with it.
Nice.
The only problem with Oren is that he wears rubber boots all the time because he's from Manitoba.
This episode of Two and Out is brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Life as a business owner can be hectic, to say the least, and Alberta Blue Cross understands that. They offer flexible health, dental, life, and disability coverage for your employees. Even better, you can let your staff enroll and manage their coverage at any time and on any device. That makes life easier for them and for you. You've got this when it comes to group coverage for your small business, and Alberta Blue Cross has got your back. To learn more and explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca. I'm Travis Currah. He's Brazilian Ty. You can rate, review, and subscribe to Two and Out on your favorite podcatcher. Leave a comment, share with your friends, YouTube, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified when there are new episodes up there.
Email questions. We got a mailbag.
Yeah, twoandout.ca. Oh, that reminds me.
Oh, no.
We had a couple weeks ago, Al Bradbury, this is overtime of Two and Out, refed his last game.
What?
In the CFL. Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
And
we had everybody's worried that he's going to go to the control center or command center.
And Michael Walker to twoandoutcfl@gmail.com writes a sonnet for Al dedicated to Brazilian Ty. Long after the play should have ended. Instead, it stands extended by a square of fabric yellow thrown by a burly fellow. As the players grapple and sweat, and the gamblers fear for his bet, for he has taken the over, and this may ruin the cover. The crowd holds collective breath. Roughing against Macbeth is the call upon the field, a new first down the yield. Of the final soliloquy by the man, the legend, Al Bradbury. Written by Michael Walker.
Oh, no, sonnet.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that beautiful?
Snapping. That was unreal.
That's only the content you can find on Twitter.
You should have rhymed cover with over. Like how Eminem just changes syllables to make words rhyme.
Should I have said cover?
Yeah.
So we'll be back on Thursday with another episode. The Labor Day rematches. I guess not Hamilton and Toronto, but Winnipeg, Sask, Calgary, Edmonton. Yeah, there we go. You'll be here next Monday, but not Thursday. Am I right, Ty?
Yeah.
All right.
But hey, I've got a bigger camp room now, so it's like there's so much room for activities.
Nice. So much room for activities. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My tears have dried from the Labor Day loss in Regina.
I was wearing my Wallaby jersey yesterday. Full disclosure.
I gotta go. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.